every time in the sky, whenever Sentinels were trying to, you know, play Jeff comp and stuff, which they fortunately in their case don't have to because it was banned. But they just really struggled at keeping people alive.
And these are two teams that we've been looking forward and seeing as we get started through the gates.
You know, this is the most anticipated matchup, at least for me personally, and I'm sure for you as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're wondering, just to reiterate it again, I mean, we bring it up every broadcast, obviously, but Smash is a roller player. He's on the sticks, on the controller. Not sure which one exactly he is. You'd have to go to his Twitch channel and, you know, do exclamation point settings or whatever he does. But oh my God, off the rip, going in aggressively with this composition with the Star-Lord alongside the drone on top of him and the speed boost from the Jeff. Just goes in with the blaster barrage. Avery's already gone.
Yeah, when you let it rip like a Beyblade sometimes, it doesn't matter what output you're playing on out here because Smash is a very reliable duelist for DARKZERO. I feel like he's also very much stepped it out as, oh.
Yeah, Avery also portaled too.
Yeah, that's why he swapped off.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to come back and maybe try to clutch up too, and it makes sense to use it early, I guess, because if you do overtime and if you flip it back and forth, it's what, like 175, 180 down. So you'll get it up eventually, right? But now Sentinels, they switch comps. Looks like in general they're gonna go over to the group.
Crimzo group, we've seen this time and time again too, as aramori slowly trying to approach alongside that of Nectar. But looking at DARKZERO and the ult economy that they're about to have, Rymazing with that extermination is something to highlight. And there's already two members of DARKZERO trying to taking a flanking position. It is Karova. By the way, Karova flank Jeff was also something else to look out for in yesterday's series.
Absolutely. Great point, Vicky. And now they're going aggressive with the Ultron's Rage. Keeping everybody alive, portal away from aramori to barely live. Impuniti eventually chases her down, though. And she was close to that invisible boundary. So it's a 1-for-1. Meanwhile, in the sky, Smash committing the ultimate. But if the Jeff heals and the Luna, or it was enough to keep Madara alive on DARKZERO's side until eventually falls. And Renko's ult runs out. Eventually, here comes the Strangling Prison. Catches out Smash. Just one for that Strangling Prison. But it's scrappy. It's back and forth at the current moment. DARKZERO still in control of the point.
And Avery playing incredibly aggressive there too. He used the extermination just for an aggressive push, as well as Renko had to use up that sustainability with the Fit of Both Worlds. And Nectar is cleaning up whatever is left right now of DARKZERO. Can't catch Karova just yet in that slippery shark. But with Teki finding Madara, the number advantage goes in favor for Sentinels.
And he's trying to kind of just, or they're trying to kind of create some space on the backside, at least flip the point. Yeah, Madara came in with the portal to stall it out, so that means DARKZERO's portal was used. But regardless, yeah, building up to 87% on the board. And Sentinels, they get it done, at least for now, to keep that point. But DARKZERO, they built up some percentage to go on their attack and, you know, do have a composition to sort of play, you know, scrappy. That's kind of why they're on that Rocket Raccoon, Jeff, and Ultron. There's really not a single target you can maybe KO except Madara, and that's why Madara went down in that previous fight.
Madara having to be careful here, trying to build up into that Sonic Seduction, but creating space with Velocity, having that see ya. This is going to put them in the driver's seat. DARKZERO just shooting blind now with aramori, having that invisible boundary, and Teki is the one that has that Sonic Seduction online, shooting through it, though, with DARKZERO now trying to navigate away, getting out of that line of sight. They don't look behind him because it is Crimzo with the brute hug, Renko with the follow-up. Despite that, though, Smash is still able to find aramori.
That is one hero you can't say that Crimzo lacks on is the tree. Brute himself is basically the epitome of Crimzo, or he's the you know, soul of that hero. Avery in the sky, though, with the Ultron's Rage, trying to close out on DARKZERO, push them off for now, in which he does.
Just taking a little book out of the Karova page right here, just trying to be the best Groot as Sentinels now. With their feet planted on this point and nearing 65%, Karova does have that Jeff ultimate. Oh, Smash gets annihilated by Teki, but the Karova ultimate, can he get away with it as he takes out Crimzo and aramori? Oh no, the double wombo combo between spouses as Karova is the perpetrator.
That's a screenshot for the old days, for sure. In the sky, though, Nectar finds one. Has the drone, so he can sustain for a little bit. Also, the missed grab from Madara. Rai able to stay alive around the corner. Duck back around. Nectar able to find Velocity, too. So they're working themselves back into it. Sentinels are, even though they lost that duo of Crimzo and Aramori. The portal also back up in time, too. So they did use it originally from Avery, but they still have that cooldown back up because it's gone long enough. And they're sustaining on this objective. No portal for the side of DARKZERO. Sentinels surely get the flip.
Oh my, Avery's on fire, by the way, on this Ultron. We're seeing really impressive, pickoffs and teki as well with the follow-ups, as now Sentinels nearing 88%. DARKZERO, they have some ultimates here in the bank to try to recontest.
Those ults are going to really matter, and let's see how Crimzo can connect with this Eye of Agamotto. Madara gets poked low, who is now on Magneto, by the way, to try to keep Karova alive when he comes in with the HDF. Here comes Impuniti. Starts it off with the Freedom Charge. Also, they layer on top of it Velocity's Rocket. Also, the See You Later committed as well. They want to go deep onto Sentinels, but they live. They thought maybe they could take advantage of the fact that they didn't have Stratus ults just yet, but it's Avery's ult here, and now they have the advantage to come back through on the backside. Everybody pocketing Avery, though, as he goes aggressive. They find Madara, though, on the main, and with him gone, that's a huge pick until the BRB brings it back. That's why they're playing Rocket, for example. Rymazing trades back Nectar, Avery as well, and the Impuniti. Both of the Ultrons getting huge value in the sky. Crimzo comes back down, bubble in to keep their Jeff alive. Is the pocket enough to keep Karova off of the map with whoever's in his mouth? He takes down Aramori again. Missed Meteor M from Madara, but he might have created enough space to come back through in the sky with Smash in the air. Galactic Legend gets the bubble as well, and Avery falls to him. But is it enough? Will they find more? Renko goes down. No more Stratus ults. Crimzo tries to find something with his Eye of Agamotto, but does not. There's no more portal as well to bring Sentinels back into it and help reinforce as DARKZERO claims that point.
Eye of Agamotto went blind real quick, but that was a really elongated fight. They utilized a lot, and that was with Sentinels having the survivability that they had. Invisible Boundary, the Luna Soul Fate of both worlds. They had Avery with the Extermination, and regardless of that, Velocity with the Rocket Ultimate as well as that BRB, as you mentioned, Dogman, helped them turn that fight. But now with Sentinels, they brought it incredibly close. DARKZERO were disrupting their backline.
And we'll see if they keep it up. You mentioned it earlier, but Karova on Jeff has been a menace. Sentinels, obviously, they don't get to play Jeff because it was banned in the earlier ban phase, and Sentinel's going to keep out with their composition with that Luna Snow and the rest of the comp, but no ults just yet, Vicky, and this is going to be a slower start, it looks like, but the Ultrons you mentioned earlier have been a huge impact.
Keep it going here. Avery's about to have the Extermination as Nectar activates the Legendary first here. Oh no. They're actually able to get out of the line of sight just temporarily, though. They're playing Ring Around the Rosie by the walls, avoiding Nectar and staying alive.
Yeah, but at least they sort of maybe force back that Rocket and the Ultron because they're trying to play for their own lives. They're able to find out Madara, who comes to the portal. Velocity's res brings Rymazing back. There's no res on the opposite side. Karova sure goes down, but the portal's about to come from Madara. Actually, no, he gives up on it. They're stalling it out. Portal not coming from them, and Sentinels actually take the point because of, we said earlier, it was some nice movement from Ry. I mean, he tried to duck around, and he did save his own life, but unfortunately, he lost his main tank.
Yeah, exactly. They were so fixated on trying to stay alive there on the side point. You disrupt the backline, even if you don't find a pick. But that's your job here. If you're a Nectar, you're either trying to force out a strategist ultimate very early in these earlier rounds of domination, or you're able to find a pick from the other side of the Vanguards who do not have that support. And he has that Extermination too, as Aramori was picked off a little earlier. She'll also have that Invisible Boundary shortly.
I already know in the comms, I bet too, like Crimzo's like, guys, we need to piss off Ry. Like, we need to just make sure that he's upset. And now, looks like they are upset, DARKZERO are, as they go in with that Ultron's Rage, and Ry takes it out on the Sentinels and removes Teki and also Avery. Them being removed is huge. Karova comes in with an itch Jeff too.
He's having so much fun with this Jeff. The fact that he constantly gets this impact, by the way, it's incredible. He looks like he's been having a ball from the backline because he's also trying to harass the backline himself as he could get away being on Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what do you do against it when, you know, you've given them Magneto, who can bubble him with that itch Jeff. You've also given them Ultron, who can throw the drone on him. It's tough to uproot such an annoying character, as cute as Jeff is. He is definitely annoying, in my opinion. But now they walk in and, oh no, Renko forced to use ult early. They want to go aggressive now.
Cute but deadly here, but at least using up this ult allows him to try to get back onto the point. Maybe a little too early, though, as the Meteor M comes slamming. Oh my, Madara got put in the microwave, burned alive here as he had no sustainability, no support, sadly. Smashes the next to go out, and it doesn't look like the Shatters being able to keep not only Rymazing alive, Madara here too. Smash goes out next, and now Sentinels are just walking up for free.
I mean, yeah, that was a block from Crimzo. I didn't even see Crimzo on the screen, but apparently he deflected it and got rid of Madara with his own Meteor M, which is insane.
Oh my.
Karova, meanwhile, goes down. So off of a phenomenal play from Mr. Captain Canada in this case, because Crimzo is Canadian, smash in the sky. Trying to bring it back, but I mean, DARKZERO's trying to stall out. This is what they did in the last point, it seems like, Vicky. Just make sure, even though it's scrappy and doesn't look pretty, as long as you get that tickage, it's worth it.
And trying to fight for it there, but what the stall is in favor of DARKZERO getting that progress here as a finishing blow comes out once again from Nectar. Rymazing, Karova haven't really been able to re-sustain after the last two fights here. Now Sentinels get to finally reclaim this point, and they didn't have to utilize everything. Crimzo still has that freedom charge, Avery with the extermination.
That's a great point. They have those available for the upcoming fight. Sentinels luckily able to kind of close out, though, right? Made sure that at least the people trying to anchor the point and sort of flip it back and forth were eventually dealt with. And this is a back and forth brawl between two incredibly close teams, it seems like, at least on the first map on Krakoa, and it's, you know, showing up to be exactly everything we were hoping this game was going to be. And aggressive plays now coming through. Sentinels are aware of it. Go on to Rymazing into the sky with the Ultron's Rage, who gets the bubble. It's a great peel onto him. Here comes that Jeff from Karova, who doesn't have the bubble on his backside because it was just used. Oh my god, gets deleted by Avery because of all the resources, but he's able to take Renko at least.
At least takes out Renko after you just were able to find two of the strategists is a W here if you're aramori being able to get away. And then the respawn two onto Karova thanks to Velocity having that BRB. They walk back up and they're able to flip the point while Teki was on the very edge of that point trying to stall.
Yeah, but at least to keep everybody alive. They commit also invisible boundary here from Aramori. Meteor M just yeets back into the back line. Here comes into the sky with the Galactic Legend. Nectar met with that Rocket Raccoon. See you later. They delete it eventually. And Rye in the sky. Can he get away? He's done it before, but is the pressure put out onto the back line enough to keep Impuniti out of the fight? No, it's not, because Impuniti trades back one, but Nectar has been massive. Portal back and forth. Chasing down the Rocket Raccoon. Does he get the health pack, though? Back up on the other side. The cooldown off. Nectar, can he find the elimination with the Blaster Barrage? Does not. Velocity with 1 HP eventually goes down. Smash from the backside, though. Can he find the eliminations? The peel has been too good for Sentinels this map. Teki's able to take down Impuniti. Portal's here from Aramori late.
Velocity fighting for his life back there. Overtime ticking away as Aramori portals everybody back to contest now. As DARKZERO, they're down in numbers. Lost out on Impuniti. They've lost out on Smash. Crimzo leading the way here, but it is Nectar in the driver's seat to set up Sentinels for success.
Beautiful round from Sentinels, and this is what we talked about. DARKZERO looking good on the previous map, figuring out what they needed to work on last week. You know, this week looking very coordinated on their dives and their aggressive. And comp-wise, it's going to be nothing, Vicky, at the meantime. It's just, you know, keep it steady, right? Make sure that, you know, you use your ultimates at the right time. Ultron's Rage has been big for Rymazing. We saw in that last fight, I mean, Rymazing was going so aggressive, had to get bubble out of it, but it cost Karova his life because he was not able to go in with that It's Jeff. And Sentinels now, meanwhile, they get that first sort of point control where DARKZERO take that rotate all the way around.
Spin just enough here as Crimzo also has that freedom charge. Rymazing has a sustainability, and Karova could do Karova shenanigans with the It's Jeff. Before Sentinels now make their way onto the point first, are ready to start things off. There goes that extermination, but Smash finding Avery first is even bigger, as Avery will not have that same sustain to keep Sentinels up, and then Karova just goes in for a follow-up. It's a buffet here, as it is 3 members off from the table here between Crimzo, Aramori, and Renko.
Yeah, might as well jump in the pit too, Nectar, while you're at it. Huge Jeff ult by Karova. Rest in Poppy in the spike pit is the side of Sentinels.
FFF. Oh, man. I love that little flyby. Shout out to production, by the way, having a giggle at that too. But Karova definitely having a good time here, but they have to lock in 1-1 apiece with Sentinels having Avery now coming back with that extermination as well as he was unable to use it before.
That's a good point. We'll see how it pans out for Sentinels. We've seen how important, oh my goodness, the tracking from Nectar there. Forcing Rymazing to fall back. No more cooldowns to keep himself alive. But they do have the BRB shortly to bring him back. And there he is. Back in the fight. Meteor M from Madara. Can it connect this time around? It does. Sort of onto Crimzo's shield. At least breaks in the meantime. And also, nobody can deal with this Rocket ult. That's the tough part of these Star Lord comps. They actually don't really deal with Rocket ult all that well. But eventually it goes down. Avery in the sky, trying to find something with Ultron Rage, at least force back these strategists, maybe find Impuniti, find some in the front line, but that freedom charge negated it for the meantime. In the meantime, here comes Smash in the sky. Eventually, they do lose a Vanguard. Madara, again, has been a target for Sentinels to focus on, especially since they do have that Emma Frost advantage, and they're taking full advantage of it. Fully charged Emma Frost towards the point. DARKZERO have nothing in terms of ultimate charge just yet. They're just trying to fight for their lives back here.
Yeah, and with Karova going down too, it was just basically leaning into Rymazing, wanting to build into that Ultron Rage here as Sentinels now. Down 4 of these members, DARKZERO, Madara having that Doctor Strange portals right back in, but with the invisible boundary met at the hands of Aramori, Teki's able to shut down Rymazing before he can even fully utilize that Ultron ultimate here. They're keeping each other alive, but it's portal play for portal play as Avery is bringing everybody back into, rather DARKZERO coming in together with Sentinels.
I think that was Rymazing accidentally going through the portal on the opposite side. Smash trades back aramori. And it's just some stall out from the side of DARKZERO now. And Smash still finds another one. Holy crap. That controller aim assist is no joke, but at the current moment, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like the scariest targets, I don't know about you, Vicky, but the scariest targets to deal with for me, at least, is like a fully charged Emma Frost on point and these Star-Lords. Blaster barrage has been disgusting.
It's so scary, especially when you know the Emma Frost is just eating for free. It has 100% damage output here, but with the slight stall, you know, you get right back down to 0. You have to boost it back up again. And Crimzo, with the survivability that Crimzo has the Freedom Charge ready to go on the Captain America. He's also trying to eye out Madara, who wants to get that Meteor M, as the impact hasn't necessarily been all there with Crimzo having him in his eyes.
And Crimzo is being focused for now, at least. Same thing with Teki. Sonic Seduction. Does it connect onto anybody? Knows the bubble's there. It just forces cooldowns out at the very least, but does the follow-up from Sentinels there at all? Yes, it is. In fact, they deal with Impunity, but the res brings him back. BRB advantage has been so big. And also, here's that Rocket Raccoon. With that, see you later towards the point. They find Teki, too, removing him. Teki's res, though, with another BRB. Also, the Meteor M not connecting from Madara in the backside. Crimzo keeps his team healthy, but here's a huge ultimate committed by Karova. Does he find anything? He finds the Captain America into the sky, though. Both of these Star-Lords, Galactic Legends, aim assist. Doesn't matter at that point because your character's ultimate isn't aimbot, and Nectar on his backside takes down his counterpart. Then also Rymazing, so huge work from Nectar. Sentinel still in control at that point. They stave off DARKZERO for now.
Nectar timing his ultimates in such a lovely way too, knowing DARKZERO really didn't have anything to help survive through that legendary, and now it's just the one last straggler being Impunity, running for his life on the Captain America so that way the stacker does not come out.
I mean, huge work, and ultimates now in their edge. We're entering 90% of the board. DARKZERO, they could lose it here and now. I mean, no ultimates. How do they get it done? Is it a dive from Impunity with Smash? How do they make it work? We'll find out in a moment. I mean, somebody's got to touch too. So many things you have to worry about. Is the Jeff there? 98. Here comes the Cap to touch. Cooldown used to dash to that point. But now you know that Cap is just there to kind of anchor. Can Sentinels take advantage of it?
Now the rest of DARKZERO now moving in. You talk about Tom Nook coming to collect his money. It's Aramori being on that rocket, and with that, see ya. Avery gets a follow-up. Renko gets Impunity, and they're dropping like flies with Sentinels moving rent-free on this point.
Huge map from Sentinels. A comeback there too. Krakoa goes the way of them. What a series we have on our hands, folks, as Sentinels take game number 1 in this best out of 5, sorry, as we, enter the end of the group stages. And not only is it proceeding, but it's also, like you mentioned earlier, a revenge game for DARKZERO, not on the roster anymore, leaving to that separate team entirely and being replaced by 2 young guns. And Sentinels, at the moment, I mean, they've made their first message, the message being, we have the better roster.
One hovering over that Ultron here instead of what we had seen prior from Rymazing, who's now on the...
From Sentinels to that ban phase, right? And as well has been one of those top players, and that is an interesting choice, is what to put Smash over to that Ultron. So let's see if it pans out for DARKZERO on their attack, whereas Sentinels are going to run that Groot that we talked about earlier.
I like that side by side because it's funny because Zelena also picked up the Ultron, right? So we're kind of seeing that theme proceed here with Rymazing now being on that Namor, making a little swap up with Smash instead, taking control over that Ultron to change things up here. But that's also allowing Rymazing, because Torch isn't banned, so if they have to make swaps, that still is available for them. So the Torch and Ultron are available for DARKZERO, whereas it's not for Sentinels, with Sentinels holding onto this defense already and Nectar being on the Bucky.
Playing it slow at the moment. Nobody really making a move just yet. DARKZERO's comp kind of works like that, right? Where it's this King comp where they play heavily around that Namor. And also the Terror Cape in this case comes in, but the Groot Wall slow it down for now on Sentinel's side, disrupting the push. But right now, Rye is set up on the top side. What can he do with it? Meanwhile, it's Nectar outputting the damage. Madara, he falls through that output from Nectar. You mentioned earlier how good Nectar is, and they're looking phenomenal.
Dude, I want to eat whatever Nectar had for breakfast because Nectar today, I mean, Nectar's always a very solid duelist, but specifically in this matchup, he is stepping up with the impact that he's had. Last game, 41 and 7, 15 final hits. You combine that together with Mommy, Emma having all the damned output she could have, Teki holding that front line. I mean, it's a very brutal and a high damage impact that you have to think about here, but DARKZERO will be able to now make the rotation here with Karova having that invisible boundary.
I'm going to take a wild guess and assume he ate a peach. Meanwhile, they come in. Ultron's Rage, push back the DARKZERO side, stun up, Impuniti. Here comes that ultimate with the whale to stall out, or at least he's yeeted out there, it seems like, for Rymazing into that invisible boundary from Karova. Playing slow. Every ult pretty much popped in the last fight, besides Renko, who's coming up on his. Same thing with Impuniti. Renko builds it up, but they lose Teki in the meanwhile. Can they come back? Impuniti has built up the Hulk ult ready to go. If he needs to use it, also disrupt this backline. Make sure nobody's comfortable. However, Bucky does pretty well against Hulk, right? At the moment, it's on me on Rymazing. We've seen it phenomenal. Namor play on this point. Can Ry pop off, though? He's not on the height like we've seen other Namors do. Already forced to use his shift. Portal is here, though, for this defense on Sentinel's side, so they're going to stall it out, even though the picks are being found by Ry.
That was nice. Turning around, making sure Nectar has no opportunity to back away, as now Sentinels, their defense is crumbling right before their feet. That's even with Teki trying to make the comeback after swapping off the Emma Frost over to the Doctor Strange to portal right back around. Used it up earlier, now swaps back towards the Emma Frost, and DARKZERO have a plethora of ultimates in this next upcoming fight.
And with the map unbroken, we'll see this team sort of set up their flanks, right? But on the defensive point, usually this is where we see teams start to get those, first holds. Meanwhile, DARKZERO, they're playing it slow right now with those flanks. Cart's still in their favor, though. Sentinels walk up above it on the bridge side angle. Really just kind of going as a cohesive unit, but Rymazing on the top side. Headshot onto Renko. Of course, got the freeze, too, which is interesting. That might impact the game later on. Ultron's Rage as well onto this back line. But again, Sentinel's looking so improved at healing this off instead. Rymazing, though, counterpoint. Giant trident in the whale in your face.
The Moby Dick coming out now. The Terror Cape to follow. You talk about utilizing that freeze. It gives more room for Impunity to breathe and get aggressive, especially when he has to worry about Nectar here, but he doesn't really have to when Rymazing is literally not getting contested on this bridge.
I mean, I was going to compliment Sentinels how well they kept their backline alive. However, well, they lost Nectar. So, tough fight for them, but at least some ults used, right? Like you mentioned, and now Sentinels get to walk in with the few ultimates they have.
Way better this time around since DARKZERO used just a bit of that last fight, and now just focusing with the squid damage here up on the high ground. Once again, uncontested by Rymazing, and now Crimzo brings everybody together. They try to get the Wombo combo together with Nectar, but it falls short. The Eternal Bond met with Velocity keeps everybody in DARKZERO alive. They're going to cycle that with Karova survivability on the Invisible Boundary, and with the Psionic Seduction from Teki trying to turn the tides, it's going to be met Invisible Boundary to Invisible Boundary, looking like a Venn diagram with Sentinels clearing the floor, taking control of this fight, and wiping out DARKZERO.
You mentioned Teki on the last map, how good he was. And on this one, looking to repeat that performance. And getting those eliminations through both strategies ults is huge for sure. As we're even in that Ultron's Rage department. I mean, Impunity can go off. We've seen him do it before, too. This was also a recent pickup. More of a not talked about one, I think, with Impunity joining this roster from Shroud X. He's been a big part of this roster for sure, on Hulk.
Probably the best, honestly, from Shroud X. So DARKZERO bringing all the good pieces together, but with Nectar getting a little bit of revenge. He's found Smash in the middle of that extermination. Now, Impunity had gotten the reset, but Nectar is upset. Finds the revenge onto Rymazing right afterwards, and now is keeping Sentinels here.
Was he blinded there, too? That was an insane shot from the meatball out of the bullet, or out of the gun for Nectar. And now they're trying to string these fights together, Vicky. This is a little bit worrisome for DARKZERO. Back-to-back losses.
This is the part of the second checkpoint, too, that is the most difficult, in my honest opinion. You have the card so close to that checkpoint, but now you're being fully held. You're trying to take to the skies. Rymazing made the swap over to the torch, trying to stay alive while looking at Avery here, but it's going to be hard when you also have Nectar landing so many of these shots.
Over the top side, here comes Madara with that Sonic Seduction, starting it out really early. Meanwhile, Diamond Former at the backside, trying to do a lot of damage. Rymazing in the sky, trying to pressure out at least some strat ults, but hasn't had the opportunity here in the sky. Avery commits that Ultron's Rage alongside the Meteor M. Can it find the back line? It doesn't. In fact, Crimzo goes down. So does Avery. Rymazing, no way shutting down those two members. Both with ultimates, in fact. So Meteor M removed. Ultron's Rage gone. Nothing else for the defensive side of Sentinels. And back to the spawn they go off of incredible torch play.
Whoa, Sentinels had the win all economy for the start of that engagement when Madara had opened up with that Psionic Seduction. That was insane. Honestly, that Meteor M with the slam down, I was wondering if that one strategist was going to get picked off being very limited space there. But no, looking at the skies, it was Rymazing who no one was focusing on being on the torch.
And this was what we talked about with Sentinels' problem. We talked about at the very beginning, Vicky, you and I, with Sentinels struggling versus Torch players, right? We've seen that yesterday as well versus 100 Thieves. We'll see if that narrative continues, though. Here comes an ultimate from the backside of Renko, but at the moment, DARKZERO's made it very far. I mean, even today, we haven't seen teams even make it out of second phase of the map. Crimzo falls, though. That's a terrible pick. Nectar soon to follow. And with that Sonic Seduction, that ends this fight right out.
You let Rymazing have the torch in Central Park, and nonetheless, again, something that Sentinels cannot pull out. But Nectar making the swap over to the Star-Lord, and DARKZERO with less than 50 seconds on the clock are looking to hold this space and keep this aggression up.
Ult's ready to go. Smash on the top side with the Ultron's Rage. Truly going to dive in with Impuniti and Rye. How do Sentinels recover from this? They have no ult. Coming on the Ultron's Rage. Is that going to be enough to keep them alive? Smashing this guy with his own. Forcing them back into spawn. Ultron's Rage is here, but it has to touch cart. Somebody has to. It's going to be Nectar. Avery taking so much damage with the Snowflake. Can he be kept alive? The healing is good. Crimzo's back with a BRB2. But do they have enough people to even stall it out? Teki coming up with that ultimate in a moment. Bubble onto Avery. Somehow keeping him alive is the back line. But then they lose that back line. Renko and aramori immediately fall. And with that torch burning bright in the sky, Sentinels really are trying to rely on Nectar and Avery, the newcomers. They find two, they find three. Are you kidding me? Nectar, you absolute god! Saving Sentinels potentially here as net velocity. He finds one at the very least. But can they find more? Teki on the velocities. The newcomers of Sentinels get it done in overtime. Portal is going to come, but is it going to be too late? Overtime about to tick down. They don't make it through. DARKZERO gets stopped.
Are you kidding me? The Magneto bubble into the Star-Lord. Oh, that was crazy turnaround. It literally...
Obviously, and Avery, I mean, what more can you say about those two?
Nectar is juiced up, man. He's juiced. He
was alongside Avery in that hold from Sentinels. They still almost... had the entire map capped on them. And, even today we've seen first point holds, and especially, like you mentioned, that torch. I mean, can they overcome it? Sentinels at the current moment. And it looks like they're trying to do it through the Bucky of Nectar again.
Oh my gosh. So what do you call it? Meatball shots? Because that's literally what it looks like.
It's crazy.
When he's hitting each and every single. Look at back to back. And the focus, the split focus right now too. This is so important to highlight if you're trying to grow as a player, because you're not giving up space, you're not giving up pressure, but you're also helping peeling for your backline too.
Unfortunately for Bucky, I mean, so much utility in that character now. Can send Rymazing down to the ground with his ease. Also with that bionic hook, trying to go for something. Gets pulled in by that force physics on the opposite side. But nothing happens just yet. This is kind of how these teams played right now. Strategist ult's built right now. Avery comes in with that Ultron's Rage. DARKZERO coming up on their own. Almost. Smash is so close. They're forced to use their greens, the regain domain, but... No, they stay alive. They build up that Ultron's Rage on the top side. Rye's also very aggressive now. Everybody's caught out now, or at least Avery on that opposite side. Rye finds two. In the sky on torch.
Yeah, and with the invisible boundary called in from aramori, Rymazing just got away with putting out not only so much pressure, but basically wasting up that invisible boundary, right? It wasn't going to really help out with the sustained long-term to get any sort of progress on that point. We're lacking in numbers already, so now that's one strategist ultimate that they will not have for this next upcoming fight.
And for some reason, mentally, I saw Avery go down on Sentinels, and I thought it was Rymazing, just because he was on Sentinels for so long. Not to rub salt in the wound to sorry Sentinels fans about that transition today. DARKZERO are trying to make it smooth, though, with 2 minutes left to go. They have that Strangling Prison ready to go, but Sentinels, off 2 minutes on the clock. That definitely digs into you mentally.
Oh, Fear Magneto. Meteor M gets blown up in his hands. Can't even send it out here. Teki now having to reset, and Rymazing can't get away in time. Teki, he's like, all right, it didn't hit you in the head, but it's fine. At least this projectile can, and they do get the trade-off, though, because Smash is able to find Nectar, despite these strategist ultimates that are being called in. Invisible Boundary from Karova, bringing everyone together is going to be Crimzo, though, and that's after Renko had also used up the Fate of both worlds to allow Sentinels to move up.
Yeah, I just got distracted in that fight as eventually DARKZERO get it done. Despite losing Rymazing, that ragdoll was just so funny. He just like got KO'd, smacks into the pillar. It's always Rye on this map too. It's like Central Park. He gets kidnapped by Terra. A little bit of a baby rage moment. I mean, you remember that too from stage 1?
I remember. That was hilarious. The ragdoll effects is always some of my favorites when it comes to games like this as well. And Sentinels, some of their favorites is going to be that Ultron ultimate too, right? Avery had so much impact prior with this Ultron. Aramori taking a good amount of damage. She will be fine though, as Nectar also has a Star-Lord legendary here. Nothing sweet about this gameplay here. That's why they call him Nectar though, as he's going to be able to push it down onto Impuniti. Madara gets stunned temporarily, and Karova gets also frozen by Renko.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice pick off, but at the meantime, they're going to rely on Nectar. You mentioned them earlier. 48 seconds left to go. Into the inside. Finds one, finds two. The follow-up there. And this is what we saw at the end of their defense. But can they keep it up? The portal is here. Rymazing goes through it just to live back into the spawn. Nectar trying to find them with the Blaster Barrage. The movement's good, but Impunity falls again. And that happened before. Also the body block too, so nobody can touch the point. Nice work from Sentinels.
That was so close too. They like just were able to escape out of the mouth of that portal right when Sentinels were able to claim that point. And now the payload's going to start moving, and DARKZERO looking at where their position is going to be on the defense here. Sentinels are already getting into the position to control more of that space.
Well versed in the body block for sure is a lot of these incredibly talented players. Ryan the Sky though gets those right-handed peaks this time that he didn't get on offense, right? So in the meantime, DARKZERO trying to fight for that space, make sure that they can maybe set up Nectar to go aggressive. Supernova available, pops it. Takes a lot of damage, has to fall back though. Nice work from Nectar to pressure out that torch, stave off at least some of the damage of that Supernova.
Sentinels still having these 4 ultimates ready to go, nearing 5 with the Fate of both worlds from Renko though. And finding Smash! The man's not missing. He's dripping with confidence, living up to the name once again, but trying to avoid the Sonic Seduction. He gets scalped by it, but is able to still get into the safety of the invisible boundary first.
And they're still walking up 2 off of that. Here comes the Ultron's rage. Follow-up is there. Karova way too late with this invisible boundary, unfortunately. They're going to stall out for sure at the very least for that car. It's only 2 members, though, just Karova and his Vanguard in Madara. They'll have ults at the very least, but it's a tough pill to swallow, losing him there and that ult.
Nectar still getting these crucial picks here, too, in the sky. Nobody is safe. DARKZERO, though, with Smash going down first early in that previous fight, will be able to have the Extermination coming in. Velocity making that swap up too, having that Loki. Could get that God of Mischief online just to allow DARKZERO to control more space, because with Sentinels trying to match that with Renko having the Fate of both worlds, they're pushing all the way up.
They are. Unfortunately not aggressive enough, though, on the inside to find a pick. Here comes that invisible boundary from Velocity, who's on Loki. We talked about how that hero's been sort of on the comeback, even though we got nerfed in the previous patch. Now comes that dive from Teki, taken down by Rymazing, when they didn't really have much to work with either, so that's a huge pick. When he had Feast of Abyss, too, in terms of Teki's side, this Galactic Legend is used more as a zoning tool for now. Madara did fall at the very least, so he's going to come back on Doctor Strange, but Ryan's done a great job of just harassing and falling back. However, Nectar now here in the sky, flipping twice to get those info frames. Avery with the follow-up, trying to find actually some of those members in the sky. That regenerative domain keeping everybody healthy too. Those are gone. Cooldowns used. Impunity's down again. Target focused for sure. Huge work from Sentinels.
That was huge too. Right out of the Beast of the Abyss too. It looked like right after he tried to use it, getting stunned and then getting taken out. The Supernova now coming in for Rymazing, while Smash tries to keep everyone alive, tries to build up some space, but he's taking a lot of damage himself. Needs some help. Still able to find that pick onto Teki. Even bigger though is going to be Nectar finding that pick onto Rymazing. Karova does have that sustainability with the invisible boundary. Crimzo close to that Sonic Seduction. As it's called in though, slowing things down. Nectar's forced to back away.
7 seconds left to go. Crimzo now pops it. Straddle's used. Karova using his velocities coming up. They lose Crimzo in the middle of the fight. Renko's not even close at all. Sonic Seduction on defense. Can they get Stratus ults? Can they make a hero play like they did before? Teleport out from Crimzo or from Teki. Renko's close to that. Luna Snow dance for. They lose Avery with the Ultron's Rage. The damage out from Madara has been huge. They lose everybody. It's just Crimzo and Renko. Nectar's going to come back. Can they clutch it up again? the newbies. Portal's not going to be up, I think, in time for Avery to even come back to the portal, so he's going to make that slow crawl back from spawn. Overtime ticks down. Portal block came through, and nobody else is here from Sentinel's side. Job done for DARKZERO. They tied the series 1-1.
Very clean and calling out the timing, too, of those staggers at the very end. Talk about a turnaround here for DARKZERO to take Central Park.
A huge turnaround, and this is what we saw. It's very hard to cap out the whole map, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, really heroic plays out of them on the defense. But, yeah, the moment we go over to offense, Vicky, you called it. It's always going to be tough versus, I mean, Torch, right? And it seems like those issues Sentinels had yesterday versus... Fair play. Fair play.
And ban the Torch.
Yep, exactly. And it's I wonder how that's going to pan out for them, right? It's because we've seen, again, I mean, I hate to say it, it's like a narrative and, you know, whatever. Sometimes narratives are drawn out for sure. But, I mean, just going off of recent history, Sentinels have to...
Going to be on that defense. Sentinels starting things off on the attack. They're the ones that chose the style that they want to be on here. Just looking at the stall opportunity here, too, that DARKZERO could try to provide. Looking at Smash, Madara, they're going to utilize Rymazing being on the Rocket to have that BRB.
Yeah, that makes sense. The triple yet again. If I remember right, DARKZERO was pretty good, I think, at playing triple comp, but we'll see how Sentinels play against it. Usually it's a lot of those teams that, well, by the way, right, on the high ground, Velocity just sitting in Narnia, unfortunately watching his team die in front of him, right? It's just everybody's getting KO'd one after the other. Stalling it out, though, at the very least, but a good take from Sentinels at the very first point.
Yeah, they're going to have the number advantage. Honestly, seeing Karova and Rymazing in that side room, I know they were trying to sustain Madara there, but they were also caught off guard with Nectar taking a nice little cheeky angle as the recontest now from Impuniti on the Doctor Strange allows them to move back in with Velocity still sticking onto that Loki.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opinion, oh my gosh, B-Ball. Oh, Karova, no! Close there for those greens. Just walk forward to Velocity. Unfortunately, lose the BRB too. Karova going to be sent back to spawn. Does not have that from Rymazing, who was, I believe, trying to move it because they didn't even break it. Nectar as well tracks down onto Rymazing and Velocity. And right now, this backline is just not together, right? This was what I was going to talk about earlier, Vicky. Like, when they were on the inside room, I would have liked if Velocity was actually in there with them. I feel like the times we've seen the peel happen, it's usually when all three strategists are together.
The lamps, like the lamp opportunity, maybe it was probably disordered, like used up already early right before that, but the lamps would have come in clutch in a space like that. And Nectar is just a silent assassin right now, hanging onto the rooftops of Spider Island. You would think that Peter Quill himself could take a note from the Spider-Man book, but Nectar is dripping with not just sweetness, but just taste and sour with the taste he's leaving in DARKZERO's mouth.
I mean, poor Impuniti right now. He's not having a good time. Incoming. Oh my, goodbye. Sent into that feast for sure. That was Venom dining on the corpse of DARKZERO strategists. And, I mean, Sentinels is absolutely snowballing right now, Vicky.
Oh no, Impuniti just came back, and now he's looking at Nectar. He's like, "Ayúdame!" He used up the vine already. Now he gets a slam down back to his team. But Nectar's a problem, and in the second checkpoint, the win condition still remains the same, where he's gonna be a threat up on those roofs. People need to start splitting up that focus to actually target him, and Impuniti needs to break that focus by harassing the backlines while still retaining being alive.
Yeah, usually Impuniti is that consistent mainstay of DARKZERO, so him going down there is brutal. Now they finally come back, put Torch on. Or Rymazing on Torch, which honestly you could say for both, right? Is the Torch playing Rymazing or is Rymazing playing Torch? Sentinel's back to the spawn though. And now we're back on to seeing a comp that DARKZERO, I'm sure, are comfortable playing with.
Rymazing's like, enough of this triple Vanguard here. We got the triple strategist. That's all we need here with Smash playing that second duelist, the hybrid role that Ultron could take on here. Rymazing's about to have a supernova, but you have to stay alive as Karova has that invisible boundary. Saving that right on time here too, since it was a little bit of a slow build up for that ultimate after the first two pickoffs that we saw. And now Sentinels, they do have 3 answers though after forcing out that invisible boundary.
Well, here's the Ultron's Rage, forces out that Luna Snow dance floor. Nobody going down either for DARKZERO. In fact, it's Nectar to fall, who got grabbed, chokeslammed by Madara. And with that, I mean, Madara just closed it out, just by themselves. Huge work from the side of DARKZERO and Madara on Emma Frost.
Oh, man, and you get the team up two together with the shield, by the way, that Karova provides, being on the Invisible Woman, too. That's just something to highlight, considering that they didn't ban out that torch, whereas Sentinels can't use that. Here, as Avery does have that elimination ready to go, here, Velocity could counter that with the Eternal Bond, but Rymazing's going to want to try to keep them on this choke with that Supernova eventually.
Termination in the sky from the Ultron's Rage. He dodges around the corner to reduce his effect of the Sonic Seduction. In fact, comes back through and finds Vengeance. Avery again. You pointed it out earlier, Vicky. Nice shots there, and the follow-up from that Ultron's Rage. They did use also another ult earlier on with Teki, but still, good fight win on Sentinels.
Sweet moves, right?
Now looking at what's coming up next here, while Sentinels get more progress here on the point, and Nectar keeps controlling even more of this space. Aramori's got that invisible boundary, while Crimzo's got that Sonic Seduction. Karova slowly approaching his own invisible boundary, but it's going to be opened up with the Sonic Seduction first, and Velocity was ready with the Eternal Bond to allow DARKZERO to replant their feet on this defense.
And they're slowly stalling it out right now. Cart still pushing forward for Sentinels. Eventually that Eternal Bond will run dry. Supernova forces out invisible boundary from Aramori, so they're sustaining that out. Smash also has Ultron's Rage. Coming up is Karova with that invisible boundary. Nectar. Can he get eliminations through that Rage and also those cooldowns from Cloak and Dagger? Looks like the answer is no, but the damage could be done because Madara falls in the front line due to, you talked about it earlier, the pressure provided to that back line.
Oh man, Crimzo was ready to try to help Peel as Velocity follows up and finds Nectar in the sky. Velocity says, I'll take matters into my own hands, swapping over to the Cloak to also get that reset on the reload, as well as Rymazing now getting that dive, sending back Sentinels to the choke, while the supports are playing patty cake to stay alive.
I mean, Ry, expert avoiding of the Emma Frost. The only way back into that fight was maybe if Crimzo gets a grab, but huge work from DARKZERO to sustain through those ultimates, and now Sentinels have 60 seconds left to go, and this is looking very familiar, right? This is like the second phase of the map again for Sentinels on Central Park. We'll see if they can close it out, though, this time around, as they're on attack, right? They can maybe build that momentum. No ultimate, essentially.
Oh, they got back.
They back capped it. Are you kidding me? Wait, who the hell? Who did that? That's the first time I've never recognized the back cap happening. What it is?
I heard the noise.
It was Nectar. Oh my goodness! I need to rewatch that. I'm sorry for missing that. That is a terrible caster moment. What a play from Sentinels. The back cap.
Back cap. Oh my. Nectar together with Teki, you cannot ignore this because the combination here between Sentinels are going to be able to try to get this dive opportunity to follow up between Teki and Nectar getting that cheeky play as Avery opening things up, splitting up the attention from DARKZERO. The extermination now coming out next. You see the bubbles coming out here too, as Impuniti does have the reset available with a Feast of the Abyss, but Sentinels are just not getting stopped here.
A huge play from Sentinels to get it done. But we'll see if the gimmick pans out. Here comes the Eternal Bond from Velocity's side. Slowed down with the Sonic Seduction, at least making sure that maybe we can't go for one shot with Impunity or something along those lines. Supernova, though, on the backside. Madara able to find Teki into the sky now. Nectar realizing he's tried Ultra Pop. Wants to come back through to this invisible boundary to stay alive, too. Making sure he hits the double pocket, by the way. Both Drone and Snowflake on him. Making sure that they pretty much aren't targetable. Nice tracking, by the way, in the sky. Then goes in with the blasters. All those cooldowns used. They lose Impunity, too, because of all the pressure that Nectar and the Vanguards, in terms of Teki, is providing.
The sustainability from Renko, as you highlighted, between the Snowflake here, too. Oh, my. He gets smashed, too, in the middle of the air. Who was so close to having the Ultron Rage. Now, Avery has it here. Sentinels could use this for not only spacing, but for that resustainability. But again, trying to enable Nectar is the goal here from Sentinels, as he's clearing space and also continuously splitting up that backline, harassing them. The DARKZERO have Velocity, are about to have that Eternal Bond here, too, as Smash has the extermination first to force them back.
Right, Nectar's putting the team on their absolute backs right now. If we talk about top-tier players, Nectar slowly but surely entering some of the best in the entire world, but DARKZERO still have a chance to win it now. Madara finds Teki with the grab, also the kick into the wall. Eternal Bond also gives him a ton of sustain. Impunity trying to live on the backside. Aramori falls, though, to Velocity and Impunity, and nobody's there to touch again. No back tap this time around, Vicky. Sentinels get stopped again in third phase.
I'm just not over that back cap, dog, man.
That was crazy.
What's crazy is that Zero, they were looking pretty good with that torch.
I'm watching it back. By the way, nobody was on the cart. They just didn't cap it. DARKZERO, I'm looking back at the VOD right now. Maybe in the AI of DARKZERO, but DARKZERO are human beings. That's why we watch humans play, not AI, I guess. Maybe I wouldn't have made that mistake. Maybe we should watch
Diabolical. I can't, man. I can't. There's no... I mean, but that's the difference maker, right? Marvel Rivals, you need to be able to have control over the point here, and or else it's just going to have that progress all on its own. And it didn't need that much here in general, but GG, you go next here. We reset. Rymazing, by the way. Magic with Impunity being on Venom. Time to know, as Impunity is able to find Crimzo, Nectar gets the trade right afterwards. Avery is the next to go out, and Rymazing pulling up with the magic on this checkpoint, by the way, is cooking, because we've seen this work before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different look.
They haven't gotten progress, by the way.
And yeah, still haven't. They are terrible at the objective at the current moment, but regardless, that's because of Sentinels kind of throwing themselves to the cart. So, you know, DARKZERO, they're improving as a cohesive unit. But it's a different look, right? Sort of Magic, same thing as Torch in terms of very reliant on the cooldowns. Rymazing goes in, trying to connect on that team up, and Teki on the backside finds Karova already a little bit too far forward, but also trying to stay near velocities. So they're running out of steam, they're running out of momentum, and since they're a traditional, more 2-2-2 style composition, they're slowly falling apart. They don't have the healing to sustain Sentinels on that re-engage.
Yeah, if anything here, just look at Impunity coming back. He needs help. Impunity always in these tight situations. Velocity was also going to come back from the spawn room gates too. But Nectar taking to the skies. Has Rymazing in his sights here. Looking at Jeff from Renko. He's got the itch Jeff as he gets dove on by Impunity, who also has a reset with the Feast of the Abyss if he needs. But he's trying to split up this backline while Renko's getting distracted.
Yeah, great work right now by Sentinels to sort of sustain. Rai switching off, and everybody, in fact, switching off to making sure they're back to their regular comp. Rai, this guy taking shots from Avery. Probably has to fall back. Velocities, meanwhile, on the low ground on... Wait, Venom on... Wait, he copied Venom, I'm sorry, on Loki to find that one shot. It created a little bit of space at the very least, but they lose Smash, they lose Rymazing. Unfortunately, because they didn't copy a strategist, they just eventually collapse.
And that's what happens right there. You think you could try to go for a play like that, but imagine you would have had a strategist ultimate to... Oh, my, and he couldn't even have the opportunity to get into the full spawn room gates to get the healing. Oh, no. Now you're wasting even more time. DARKZERO down a minute and less than 45 seconds here.
Yeah, Nectar's looking phenomenal throughout the series, right? Despite the situation they find themselves in 1-1, DARKZERO now have to come back with their ultimate. Sentinels also. Same situation. Rocket ult out first. Here comes the Supernova on the backside from Rymazing to delete it, but he's taking so much damage. Eye in the sky, but it's shut down maybe. Kinda. Karova still fault. Velocity fault. The peel is there. So even though you get grabbed out of the air, the job is done by Sentinels on the defense. Great push from them.
All around right now, there has to be changes, and DARKZERO are making them. It's going to be the Hulk and Namor. Rymazing makes a swap, because even if he's trying to find these picks and harass the backline here, even in the skies, it's not going to be enough, because the way that Nectar and the front line from Sentinels are holding up this choke point, DARKZERO are barely even making problem as Avery finds Smash.
I mean, they're looking shook right now. DARKZERO is having to switch up to this composition when the Torch has been working on so well. Here comes... Well, Teki eventually goes down. Nice job with the Regenerative Domain to save alive from that push of Teki, at least. But Avery eventually finds Madara, and Avery, the newcomer to the roster, has been also incredible. So this duelist lineup, and one of the duelists playing a strategist in Ultron, able to find huge picks now. DARKZERO still trying to fight this, still Smash on the backside, trying to equalize it. But here, on the opposite side, Galactic Legend. Peel comes through with that invisible boundary, though. Same thing with those shields from the Invisible Woman. Jeff, in the meantime, will it find anything? Goes on the high ground, but Rai avoids it for now. They still have one trapped. Well! Amazing across the map. Stops the Jeff from flying off the map. However, Nectar's found velocity.
Remember when you were asking, what do you do when it comes to that Jeff? You have to reserve an ultimate for it. That's the best way to prevent the impact that a big Jeff ult can turn the tides. But Avery may just turn the tides himself, but he's only got a 2 picks here. He's got to look around to see that the stall can really come out, because overtime's ticking away. But it favors Sentinels here, as Impunity is forced to pop the Hulk ult, to pop the reset here, and now looks behind him to stop the portal play.
I mean, these young guns of Sentinels are wiry. They have been all over DARKZERO, and because of that, here comes Crimzo in the sky. Smash is gone. Wait, Crimzo goes down to Karova, though. On the backside, rocket ult here from aramori. Doesn't give them anything. It doesn't look like it. They're losing Teki. On the high ground, here comes Ultron's Rage from Avery, trying to equalize it. He's done it before. Can he do it again? Karova invisible. Using the double jump, we know that cooldown is out. No longer can go invisible. Also, Madara did use that diamond form. Smash coming back with the portal on the backside. Incoming, Impuniti finds Nectar. Out of the sky, takes him down. Nectar, though, gets brought back by BRB. Karova takes on Avery. That has been a thorn in their side. But teki, he still has that combo alongside Nectar with the Feast of the Beast if he wants to. Nice slowdown of Nectar, though. The stasis from Impuniti to slow it down. That teki also gets peeled for by Smash. And they're starting to do it. DARKZEROs, they're maybe going to close out here as they come back on Angela, of all things, Crimzo does. But as we know, Angela is one of the lowest HP vanguards in the game, so she can't stall that well. Besides, when she's the only anchor on the cart, Sentinels get stopped, or rather they get pushed off the cart, and DARKZERO moving in the second phase of the map.
All right, Rymazing cleaning up the cart like a janitor right now, just sweeping the floor real quick with all the squids here. But can we talk about that stall was insane? I was worried too, because at some points we saw aramori being on that rocket, had that BRB, Nectar coming right back, but Impuniti with that stun was crazy. Now leading up to this fight though, Velocity has that God of Mischief, something that Sentinels don't really have that sustainability, although if Renko stays alive, could boost up that Fit of Both Worlds just as quick.
We'll have to keep our eye on that. Velocity so far this series has been phenomenal. Also the captain of the draft in terms of picking the heroes before the series. Got maybe the characters DARKZERO feels like our best, but it seems like the toughest champion to deal with today is the payload for DARKZERO if they get stopped here. 1 minute and 41 seconds. Velocity goes aggressive with that invisible boundary and the copy of his very own Invisible Woman. And it's as you said, Vicky, maybe that God of Mischief was too much because Crimzo goes down in the neutral. So does Nectar.
Good amount of space here about it, and this is going to build into that win condition. Rymazing's going to be able to set up with these squids, and Sentinels will be able to come right back around, though, with some ultimates to work off of the invisible boundary. Renko already having that Fate of Both Worlds. Avery as well with that Ultimate Extermination. Crimzo with the Sign of Seduction, but DARKZERO have so much star potential here going into this next fight, as his Extermination is going to be the first thing to open things up, and Renko's going to try to keep them alive, as Avery is looking to get a lot more aggressive, but he gets saved here by that Lunasto Ultimate. Karova matches it here with the invisible boundary, and nobody is looking at Rymazing as he is safe in that invisible boundary for now. Has to utilize the will to stop teki from harassing his backline.
And now that they're off the Jeff on the defensive side, I'm sure he feels better about using that ult in that situation. Invisible boundary in the sky. Nectar trying to find something. Renko falls though. Meanwhile, it's Impuniti. As you talked about first point, and second, Impuniti also commits the ult onto the Emma, slams her down, and unfortunately they lose even more members as Smash collapses, but Impuniti has been an absolute game changer. teki trying to stall it out with the Feast of Abyss, maybe trying to get another gimmick sort of back cap again. And they're actually getting the portal. He stalled out long enough. teki goes down, sure, but the team is here. They can maybe back cap again as DARKZERO maybe pushed off that objective. But no, this time it's Sentinels that are.
Yeah, Renko held forward right there coming out of that portal, just trying to harass that back line, but without looking at that card. DARKZERO walking into that second checkpoint now and are looking to create that space.
A minute and 30 seconds left to go, Vicky, and Sentinels have basically nothing too. So they switch over to that Phoenix. This is something we've seen other teams do. In fact, we've seen Envy do it. And we'll see if it pans out for them. Karova falls so low, but lives with their life.
To the reclaim here on the payload too, as you can see Nectar making that swap up over to the Phoenix. Smash is gonna have to keep their eye on that with the Extermination ready to go. Reclaiming the point is gonna be the first thing to start things off for this fight now, as Velocity also has that reset opportunity too once Smash is done here. Karova with the ball of the Invisible Woman is going to be able to take out teki, who falls incredibly low, making the swap up here back onto the Venom, as Crimzo wants to get that Sign of Seduction, but it's first met with Madara here. As Smash, they're holding forward. They're getting the follow-ups off of that Sign of Seduction.
I mean, I love it. I love the counter swapping going on right now for both sides. This is kind of the future of the game. You know, make them get used to certain play styles. You switch it up to Phoenix, but then also they switch back. So Rai reading that well. Supernova, Spawn Cam trying to come through. Nice freeze, though, from the side of Renko. Aramori, invisible boundary to stay on that objective. Also in the sky is Avery, trying to keep his Venom alive, who's trying to stall it out. Somebody has to anchor. We're right towards the end. Less than 5 meters to go, and we lose teki in the sky with that Phoenix ult. The Ensign Inferno does not connect with the ground. It gets eliminated in the sky, but we're at least committing the Luna Snow ultimate alongside Crimzo with that Sonic Deduction. Nothing found just yet, though. Everybody stunned up on the backside of DARKZERO. Impuniti trying to find the back line, but it's saved by the drone. Invisible Woman trying to dodge back and forth. Impuniti trying to make sure that their presence is felt. Here comes Doto Towards Rage 2 on the flank. Perfect timing. But teki here with the face of the piece of the best on the cart. Does it find anything? No. Nectar again. Finding Karova. Finding Velocity. Renko and aramori fall. Both duelists immediately get traded out. Smash needs to play for the life. Has switch sides of the map. Nectar again. Going huge. Rymazing falls. It's scrappy as all hell. Crimzo whips out the fist. Takes down Madara. And Nectar trying to stay alive in melee mode. Does something. It's a 1v1. And it appears pushes off. The Jeff is here. But DARKZERO. They win it out. It's 2-1 now. DARKZERO.
Give the crown to Impuniti right now. Give it to him right now. The way that he not only harassed that backline, took care of the strategist, prevented that stall out was crazy.
Oh my God. What a series between these two teams. You know, we thought, Vicky, that it was going to be a good one, but didn't know how good it was going to be. And you know what? If EMEA was a sign, it was a banger over there. We saw an incredible matchup between, I believe it was Navi and Chun, a leader of the team, alongside Renko, a very experienced player. So it's not just Crimzo making these decisions anymore in the ban phase. And, you know, it could very well be like a too many cooks in the kitchen situation, right, Vicky? Like maybe you have too many big brains trying to make plays, trying to say what's good, right? And then
also, no team up with the Invisible Woman for either side here.
And it's going to be a big play for sure as Sentinels portal. They're going to go for a kidnap play again. Looks like everybody's mobile characters. Did they try to change it up? Madara does. They just go over the top side and drop down.
Oh, that looks funny here. Before he drops right on top of their head to try to take the fight to them to wrap around here. Crimzo does get stunned. Impuniti being back on that Hulk with Rymazing trying to utilize those Gamma Squids already set into position. Helped out with that portal originally, and Nectar taking a good chunk of that damage.
Yeah, you just see subtle pot shots from Smash there. But Nectar farming up that ultimate quickly. Has the pocket as well as the BRB if he does go down. So they can play aggressive. And Teki's doing so, but wait, maybe he's out of range of that BRB too. Because you have to be within a certain range. Yeah, Teki's not going to get brought back. However, Crimzo will be. And that means that they're missing their Vanguard, one of their Vanguards, the Venom in this fight.
Trying to disrupt the piece and try to split more of that attention. So this is going to allow DARKZERO just to walk in and retake this point first. As now Sentinels regroup together, they will have Avery with that extermination. It's going to be the first thing to be opening up this fight. Smash is going to try to match up, but Karova going down is so important with the invisible boundary not available here. And now Renko having the ability to utilize the Jeff. The whale comes out right on time. Talk about by a pixel.
Again, Rai again, Nectar in the sky. I mean, is it going to be enough with Crimzo on the main side? It looks like it is. So as good of a play as that was from Rai. And Impuniti built up ult. Oh, he doesn't get to use it though. They just go for the reset actually. In the meantime, maybe they could have tried to clutch it up, but regardless, I mean, this is an incredible series as the stagger of the Bruce comes through. Rest in peace. He's put in jail today, not ban jail this time though. And you see incredible focus towards these Jeff, it seems, Vicky.
And there's a reason why. There's a reason why we've been seeing these Jeffs get banned out. DARKZERO couldn't play it last game. It was available for Sentinels in the previous game before that, but it's the focus on these Jeffs here, as now Sentinels getting to position with Teki having the reset opportunity. Crimzo having that Sonic Seduction too, but Karova's got the survivability as the choke slam comes out to shut down Teki. There is no way he can pop that piece of the abyss as he gets finished off by Smash. And the invisible boundary now from Karova is going to allow them to push up onto this point. Rymazing finding Avery up in the sky. Aramori still brings him back to the BRB, but the number advantage is here in DARKZERO's favor.
I mean, Namor does so much in these neutrals because of the squids provided, which he will lose in the next patch, but it's going to get changed out, obviously, for something maybe even better. But now the Venom with the piece of the abyss trying to stall it out, gets the drone, right? The healing is there from his team, but the point flip for DARKZERO regardless, and they slowly walked back Sentinels in that fight.
Even to reclaim the point, getting extra progress now too. Look at the ult economy that they're working off of, right? 5 ultimates online here for favor for them, but I'm looking at Renko right now with that Jeff ultimate that's slowly coming online. He probably wants to wait for Karova to have that invisible boundary to have everybody grouped up together, but it's going to be the extermination, the Ultron ultimate from both sides first, and the dance off of the fate of both worlds from Velocity. Rymazing can get into position to just utilize that will to use it against Renko specifically as he's caught aramori once again.
Aramori going down is huge. I mean, that's a big ult out of the fight. What's going to counter these Jeffs, right? Or at least in the side of Renko. It's that whale yet again. We've seen whale greater than shark time and time again. Will it happen with 80% of the board? I mean, DARKZERO are just kind of coasting currently. Sentinels are going to walk in soon, surely, with this Guardians of the Galaxy, or this intergalactic legend in the sky. Different team. Crimzo able to trade back Madara. Rymazing down teki. So they trade Vanguards. Sentinels actually take the point with that, though. They're using the rocket ult, using the Sea later alongside that Guardian. I mean, that's enough for them to take the point. DARKZERO, give it up.
It's fine, though. DARKZERO gets to peel away here, try to protect the Stratter's backline while still punishing teki at the same time, while Crimzo getting stunned here with Impuniti jumping right back at the hands of the team. DARKZERO and Rymazing still holding on to that whale to look at when Renko decides to use it, and with the invisible boundary coming up, this may be the green light as Avery utilizes that extermination. Renko goes down, won't even have the opportunity to press the button, so now Rymazing gets to save the whale. Renko gets taken out, and now we're going to have Sentinels try to portal in.
They have to. I mean, Crimzo thought he maybe was on the point to stall it out, but portals here, like you mentioned, in the sky. Everybody's healthy, but Ry holding on to that whale. Eventually, I mean, he's been saving it the whole time. The Jeff on the high ground, understanding the whale's going to be used for him. Teki gets taken out by Smash and Rez, though, so Renko finally learned not dying to that whale this time, but Avery goes down to velocity, and I think that means he's not going to be in time for that portal. Meanwhile, the Game of Squid takes down Nectar 2 on the backside. I mean, Ryan is doing so much this map. Madara on teki. Sure, you got rid of Torch, but I mean, right now, DARKZERO look great with Namor and Hulk.
They're trying to turn that score around for this type of game mode, right? On domination, they're tired of it. They want to try to even things out. They're down 2-3, and now they're looking great.
Ultimate combination to Sentinels, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I was gonna say, I'm happy that teki is swapping, although, yeah, you do have a lot more space. You have the pillars, too, right? So you can try to mix up your landing, try to get some dive resets, too.
Yeah.
But the same thing could be said for, like, the Ultrons. They could utilize these pillars just to be able to get out of line of sight of the opposite team. And this could also benefit Nectar. Rymazing could set up with these squids here over to the side, split more attention as Crimzo's trying to take the lead. And aramori at least has that Sia available, but Velocity also having the sustainability of Fate of both worlds.
I mean, you can see what Sentinels have done. Oh, wait. Oh, my God. DARKZERO. Yeah, Velocity finds teki. Rez, though, brings them back. At the very least, that rocket ult gets deleted. Into the sky, though. Nectar's going. But it's into a strat ult. Meanwhile, on the backside, Impuniti slams down Crimzo. And then the follow-up is there from Karova. And no more BRB to bring back Crimzo in this fight. And Rai, again, closes out, puts his stamp on things with the elimination of Renko.
It's the slow turnaround from Nectar to look at his team getting slammed onto the ground by Impuniti being in that whole form and then having to just do nothing about it because he's got that legendary activated, wants to clear space. Even better look as DARKZERO, once again, with Rymazing being honest no more, is a problem that is not getting focused.
I was going to say, I felt like Nectar, I think, throughout the series has felt maybe the Star-Lord stuff isn't really panning out for them. It's seemed to me like maybe they want to switch to something else, and here it is. Now they're on Phoenix and on Bucky. Avery with the pull. Doesn't connect in the meanwhile. Sky Smash coming in with the Ultron's Rage. Bubble. Oh, doesn't save Velocity. Where did that Invisible Woman shield go? Teki, nice pick on a Velocities, removing a huge player in that Loki out of the fight.
Oh, I was looking for Kuro's positioning right there, too. Rymazing now looking at these swaps, still has a squid set up and still harassing teki. He sends out the whale after the Magneto bubble was called in, and in the Invisible Woman ultimate, Rymazing walks up, takes out another member, Avery, off the table, so he won't even get that Bucky reset here, too. And Madara, the way that DARKZERO is cycling through his ultimates in the next fight, Velocity will have that God of Mischief, and Impuniti still has a reset opportunity here being on the Hulk.
I mean, they're stalling it out at the current moment. 70% of the board. Smash comes back with the portal. And like you said, the Hulk is in there. Sentinels portal's back. They're also stalling with the Invisible Boundary. Nectar coming up with the Inside Inferno. Avery finds the pick and keeps Sentinels alive in the series, because if they were to lose it here and now, it could be over. Thought combination with Nectar again. We've seen this before, and you can see why these two were paired as a DPS, as a duelist duo. It's combinations like this, but you know, is it too little too late, Vicky? We'll find out as, you know, DARKZERO, they built 92% as that point flips.
As long as they cycle through these ultimates properly, I don't think so. This is a beautiful counter swap that we're seeing from Sentinels. They can take care of the squids just as easily here. Velocity being on Loki allows for the reset to come out from Avery even easier, being on that Bucky. So that's something they have to consider with Velocity, at least having that God of Mischief to start things off. They can copy Karova, they can start off the Eternal Bond, maybe start off an engagement.
And walking in, you said that the sustain is going to be the biggest thing. Can Sentinels live? The copy from Velocity goes in with that Eternal Bond. Also, they have Terror Cape. You use Rymazing's invulnerability, but also nobody's left with anything. So they have to give up the point. You don't have straddle. It's boom, Whale on the back line. Impunity's there to follow it up. Can he get eliminations? Is the patty cake enough to keep him alive? It looks like the answer is no. Aramori and Renko fall. Crimzo as well. That's the anchor gone. No portal from earlier as well because they used it. And Sentinels are losing everybody. DARKZERO are trying to close out in overtime. Close out versus their Nemesis. As they took down Nemesis before, they take down Sentinels now. DARKZERO and Karova and Rymazing get revenge.
They take the series, DARKZERO, your winners, in a 3-1 fashion versus Sentinels. That last fight, they knew when they walked in, they had the impact, they had the follow-ups after he sent down the whales to split them apart, that they were going to take that win. That was literally the series-winning fight for DARKZERO here, as Velocity is your MVP.
Ooh, I mean, well-deserved, but the whole team played well from DARKZERO, and that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest narrative that we can talk about is they've overcome their issues. It seems like, right? They're going to have to go against 100 Thieves, in which don't believe they actually played against them, by the way, Vicky. So this is going to be the first time we would see 100 Thieves in DARKZERO, a brand new matchup, which is always awesome.